Hello, 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 and welcome back to another week of Wind Against Tide podcast. It's myself, Dave Standing, joined by the man, Joey Fernand, in the studio. Joey, how are you feeling? I'm feeling pretty good, actually. We've just had the meal of all meals. It's probably why we're 3 minutes late in recording. Too bloated to get to the studio, but it was damn good, Joey.
Yeah, we had unbelievable smash burgers with some beautiful yellow American melted cheese, and we had like a carvery board of sausages with dipping sauces, and we also had some Nando's chips with some peri peri seasoning that I applied myself. So fresh cut chips with Nando sauce. It was a fantastic dinner. But Dave, big show tonight. We are joined in the studio very shortly by McGlashan from Sydney. He's a best-selling author, angler, and underwater filmmaker, and just an all-round filmmaker. But I'm really, really pumped to get him on.
That's right, Joey. A very, very exciting guest to have on tonight. Al's been obviously in the fishing media for a long time. He's seen trends come and go. He's caught a hell of a lot of fish, Joey, and he's made a lot of really cool content, whether it be videos, photography, or any other sort of media, really. But just generally a pretty creative guy, and he's actually a damn good fisher.
And my earliest memory of McGlashan was a young 20-year-old. I was sitting watching Channel 31, and he used to use the tow cam where you would just see just a mob of angry kingfish chasing his live bait and just absolutely smashing it. So my earliest memories of Al was making underwater TV, while the technology was really, really super, super expensive. So yeah, it's really good stuff.
Yeah, that's it. Anyone can go to it now, including us, Joe. Even schmucks like us can go and take beautiful underwater footage. But back then it was a lot more difficult. So we're going to delve into a little bit of that with Al, along with much, much more. Joey, very big long weekend for some. I had to work Monday, so I kind of had a weekend, a work day, then another day off. You had a long weekend. Did you go fishing, my friend?
The fishing stars didn't align for me this weekend, but I tell you what, Dave, absolutely beautiful weather. I really enjoyed watching the social feed and seeing lots of people getting out. The pelagics were absolutely on fire locally and around our coasts, and not to mention also even the inshore fishing was fantastic. Big squid, big whiting. It was just so awesome to see everybody enjoy their long weekend.
Well, we had big plans, Joe, and none of them really came off. I did go out on Saturday with both my brothers, actually, for a bit of a look for the larger tuna that should be coming through our waterways any time now. But it didn't go very well at all, Joey. Pretty much didn't see anything. We did see a few small tuna jump at one point, but other than that, it was not really what you like to see when you're out in those waters looking for the big fish.
Wait, not even any tuna at all. Like I know, Dave, you feel like maybe it might be time to go for a big one. But did you see at least any small tuna? Did you see any of the frolicking salmon schools? We know how much you love a salmon and flicking a lure at one of them. He actually hates it.
No, we did see some school tuna, we'll call them, Joey, jumping under a turn, but they're moving quite quickly. And by the time we sort of pulled up to try, well, we had the big lures out looking for the big fish. By the time we chucked a couple of smaller ones out, we'd lost sight, and they were moving through pretty quickly. So
Maybe you can ask Al a few tuna tips. He's pretty good at tuna. He might learn a thing or two, Dave.
yeah, that's right, Joey. You can always learn. I don't know if you're insinuating that I think I can't be taught, but I will 100% listen, mate. But anyway, the other plan we had, and which is why we held off on a lot of fishing, was we were going to head out for a swordfish because the weather was reasonable for that, Joey. But we got scared off by the GTs, Joe.
That's it. The GTs, the giant toads.
Oceanic giant toads.
The giant puffing oceanic toads with the giant parrot beaks that absolutely love snipping multicolored depth hunter braid.
I think any colour braid. Richie Arbella, who we've had on the show a couple of times now, he went out there with Joey with 5 setups, so swordfish setups, which is braid, mostly braid, a little bit of monoline, and he came back in, and 4 of them were destroyed in a day. Now, if you want to add up how much that's going to cost, that's basically they're bitten right halfway down the spool, so that's 4 spools of line. That's an expensive day. That would have put us well and truly in the red, Joey.
I mean, we're in the red already doing this podcast, but we'd be even more in the red.
Yeah.
Just buying new braid, respooling your Tiagras, mate. So,
Yep. So we erred on the side of caution there. Live to sword another day, Joey.
but look, so that's the Bass Canyons. Do you think there might be some swordfish if you sort of went towards maybe the Everard Canyons or maybe off Malakuta?
Oh, there is swordfish all through there, Joe. It's just a matter of not losing all your gear before you can get to them.
Dave, I got to say to you, mate, we've known each other for a long time. This year was 12 years of friendship for Dave and I. Facebook kindly remembered us.
Our friend-iversary, Joe.
Our friend-iversary, and the friend-iversary picture was actually Dave relaxing whilst we were sword fishing on I think the around the 25th of April, 12 years ago, and he was relaxing, and we were actually sword fishing at Everard Canyon. So make no mistake at all, the swordfish season is absolutely, this is the start of it. It's going to fire up.
Joe has announced it open.
Swordfish season open.
Very good, Joe. Now, if you're watching and you're thinking, God, Dave's face is really red, it is. I've had my classic alcoholic reaction to Joe's Whiskey Club whiskey here, and I'm very, very rosy, Joe.
Look, we paused the Whiskey Club because, times are tough and inflation and all that. But I was told that you just could not miss last month's whiskey that was a single malt from New Zealand. Apparently some of the cleanest water in the world. And that's what we've had tonight.
Nice, Joey. Very good. Bit of a reaction coming from myself. But anyway, enough about that. I reckon we give the main man our call.
Dave, I want you to go right into the strike zone.
I'll do that, Joey. All right, here we go. Fingers crossed.
Oh,
Al McGlashan, how you doing, mate? Welcome to Wind Against Tide. We're stoked to have you aboard. How are you doing?
another tough strike.
What was that, my friend? You just broke up a little bit.
Tough day. Another tough day in the office is what I reckon it is.
Oh, another tough day in the office. Have you been out on the water today?
No, we fished. What was it? Not yesterday. No, day before we fished. We had a good day offshore for Anzac Day. You got a nice little yellowfin for the table. Got a big blue marlin, and then it was funny. We were winding up the blue marlin, and it was a good fish, sort of 180 kilos. So it's giving us a bit of curry. Ords was fighting it, and we got it right up. And as we did, we noticed another fish following up on the fruit. And I thought, oh, it's a bit strange. Anyway, got the fish up, tagged him, made sure he's okay, and set him off. And noticed the other fish below. Coops pitched out a sowie just to see what happened, just in case maybe it's another blue marlin or something. And you wouldn't believe it, we end up catching a friggin' blue shark that must have been 200 kilos. It was massive.
Not the desired outcome, I can imagine.
No, we didn't want a bloody shark, but 25-degree water and a blue shark, the last thing I was expecting in there.
So what is happening off Sydney at the moment? It sounds like yellowfin and still a fair few marlin around. Is that right?
Yeah, so this is normally, we've had a good season on black marlin inshore. I mean, obviously Port Stephens had a ripper season, and we've had probably our best one off Sydney. Like, we go out, drop coops at school, Ords and I drive out the front a mile or two off the headland and catch a black or two and come home at lunchtime. And it was going probably for a month and a half. Like, it was insane.
That's crazy. I mean, our fishery down here, Joe and I live basically on Western Port. The game fishing's definitely improved a very long way from what it was back in the years. But yeah, we could only dream of just ducking out in the morning and being amongst big blue marlin and yellowfin and the like. Yeah,
but you guys still like kings. I moved to Sydney so I could catch more kings and stuff. And once I left, you got good bluefin fishing, you got sword fishing, marlin turned up, and the kingies went off tap, and they all left up here. So it's like, oh, hang on a second, maybe I have to move back to Victoria.
Maybe. You quit on us, Al. You went too early, mate.
I know, that's right. I've been told that a few times, actually. So yeah, sadly, I went the wrong way. It was kind of ironic. We're down there, go down there sword fishing like last season. We got a couple and stuff. I go, It's so ridiculous. I come back down to Victoria, and I used to drive from Victoria in the old days to Bermagui. But the funny thing, someone was saying, "Oh, why didn't anyone fish?" I went, "There was no ramps. Like Malakuta didn't have a ramp. They had a piece of concrete that was crap. They've obviously upgraded it. What's that other one halfway across there that they've upgraded the other day? It's still not that good, but Conran. They've upgraded Conran, and of course, Lake's entrances. Once they've improved that bar a bit, it's much easier to get in and out. And on top of everything else, everyone forgets that when we used to go and fish as kids, we'd go up. It was a mission to drive to the shelf. That was like, whoa, this is a big day.
Yep.
And at Bermagui, it's 12 miles. It's not that far out. Now with technology, we're just doing 40 miles and not even thinking about it.
Yeah, I know. It's modern technology's definitely opened up a lot of fisheries that probably were there and we're missing out on them for a long time. So you briefly mentioned before, Al, you actually grew up in Melbourne, is that right? Then you shifted up to Sydney to chase the fishing dream.
Yeah, so I had the theory, you go to school and do all the normal thing and go, yep, and get your careers master. I don't know if they got careers masters anymore. And he said, "Oh, what are you going to do?" And I went, "I'm going fishing." He said, "Right, hang on. What type of fishing?" I went, "Oh, I'm just going fishing. I don't care what it is." And he goes, "All right, listen, son, this is how it works. You go to school." I went, "Yeah." And he goes, "Then you go to university." I went, "Yeah." And then he goes, "Then you get a job and you work your butt off." I went, "Yeah, you're losing me pretty badly here." And he goes, "And then in your spare time, you go fishing." I said, "Well, how about I go fishing and build my job around that somehow?" And he goes, "Oh, it's not how it works." I went, "Well, it's going to be," because I said, "I'm going fishing." I said, "I'm not going to spend all my life working my butt off for when I'm 65 to go fish." I said, "There won't be any fish left by then. I'm going to go now." And that's how it all started. And, I started out working in the trade there originally. So I worked originally for Ray's Outdoors, which is kind of ironic, which is obviously BCF these days. And then went across to working for Complete Angler when Jim Allen still owned it. And at the same time, I started writing because I wanted to take photos of fish because, the stuff we see out there. And in those early days, it was all slide film. And people didn't realise, you go, "Oh, I just had a marlin on." I still remember one day at Bermagui, it's such a classic. We drove up when we were at Ray's Outdoors, all the way up Friday night, finished work at 9 o'clock, drove till, 3 o'clock in the morning, whatever it was. Got up at 6, went fishing all day, tagged a couple of marlin, came in. I remember pulling up at the boat ramp, the guy going, "What'd you catch?" I went, "Oh, we got a couple of marlin." And in those days, there was not really many marlin around, hadn't really kicked off yet back in the 90s. And he goes, "No, you didn't. Where are they?" I went, "I didn't kill them. I couldn't kill them. They're too nice." He goes, "Oh, you didn't catch them." Walked off. I'm like, hang on. So that's what it sort of motivated me initially to get a camera. And I said, right, that's it. I'm getting a camera to film this stuff. And the more I took photos, the more I went, oh, hang on. I want to show people what we're seeing out there, because it's just, you try and explain it. Now we've got phones, we can show it. But in those days, you couldn't show anyone what we saw. So that was the initial motivations. And then it sort of, I was tried guiding for a while and stuff and hated it because we took people out that didn't fully appreciate what they were seeing. Some people just wanted to kill stuff or just wanted to catch the biggest fish so they could, for their ego and all. I'm like, mate, we just had a sunfish swim around the boat, or, with the blue marlin just burst out of the water, whatever it is, all these cool things. And then I remember Bill McGlashan going, "Oh, show me some of these photos you've got." And he was doing the new bag, which I think is sport fishing bag he had.
Yep.
So I showed him, and in those days, and all the young ones won't know, I had an A4 full of slides, all slide film in those days.
Yep.
I showed him that, and he went, "I'll publish that if you string a few words together." And that's how it all started. So I wrote that, then did another one, and then, the old man went to Harvard doing marketing, got a scholarship. He goes, "You just got to remember," he said, "you're selling a product. It's not some arty-farty thing because you like it. No one cares what you think. It's what everyone else thinks."
That's
So you got to make
really
whatever
smart.
you do.
Yeah, spot on.
Yeah, and it is. It's because everyone goes, "Oh, I love this photo." It doesn't matter. It's irrelevant if you like it. It's everyone else likes it, and that's how it started building up. And I wanted to show people what we saw, and your passion comes through your photography. So when you love what you do, it becomes an extension. So you're showing, like, I tried underwater in the early days when it was slide film, spent all the money that I didn't have, and tried, but without now it's digital. I can see the shots. With underwater, it's a lot more technical than above, because in those early days, like I'd go away to filming somewhere or photographing somewhere, and I'd take rolls and rolls of film. I wouldn't know I've even got any shots till I got back.
Yeah.
Like, you just don't. And the problem was that, with underwater, your exposure's wrong and stuff like that. You couldn't change your ISO or anything like that. You just had to guess it. And a lot of the photos were pretty average. So I ended up redoing it all again and coming back in. Once it went to digital, I came back to it, and that's when it hit its own, jumping in and filming everything then just brought it to the next level. And because no one else wanted to jump in, they were like, I'm not jumping in there, which fair enough. There's a few bodies in there you don't want to mess around with.
Yeah, well, we might have a look at that notorious interaction you had with the Mako shark a few years ago in a minute, because I think that's one of the it's iconic. I would say that footage. I mean, I don't know if anyone else has had anything like that happen, and to capture it on film like you did at the time, it was quite amazing. Almost worth getting bitten in half for, I would have thought.
Yeah, I'd have gone for that, I reckon. I've always got the joke, if I'm in the water and stuff and something happens, just film it. You may as well pay for it. Like, if I'm going to get eaten, we may as well make some money out of it, like for the family, for Ords and Coops.
Exactly.
Coops seems really keen on it. He goes, yeah, I'll film it. Ords is not so keen. She's like, what do you mean film you getting eaten? I went, mate, it's worth a fortune. If I'm going to get eaten, I'm eaten. May as well film it. So she's not so keen on it. But Coops is straight on the wagon, goes, yeah, mate, I'll film it, Dad. Don't worry.
What a lovely son.
Approach.
Yeah. How have you found over the years with the development of cameras and technology? Do you think it's brought a lot of people that wouldn't ordinarily be going to the efforts that you went in the early days into the industry? Do you think that it's lost a little bit of its shine to capture an amazing image, or do you still think that you need to really have that passion and an eye for it to capture something unique?
Yeah, look, it's an interesting one. So it was definitely a lot more skill in the early days.
Yep.
Because there was no room for mistakes. And what was really interesting in the early days is when you cleaned up a photo with, Photoshop, everyone would go, it's Photoshop, and they'd hate it. Yet in the TV industry, we shoot flat, so very dull colors, so we have a greater dynamic range. So when it goes into post, that we can, Photoshop in basic terms to clean it up. And now I shoot all my images flat so that I can clean them up after. So it's quite interesting how it's changed. You still got to get the composition. You still got to be in the position to get the shot, but it has definitely made it much more obtainable. I mean, what you can do with an iPhone is insane.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I used to carry a SLR out fishing with me every trip, and in some instances, it still takes a nicer photo, but in other instances, the time it takes to set everything up, get your ISO, shutter speeds, etc., correct. And the other thing is, if you give that camera to a mate to take a photo for you, they always come out crap. So you're probably a bit like me and have a lot of photos of other people with fish, but not that many of yourself.
Yep. Oh yeah.
But the beauty with iPhones now is that anyone can operate them, and they still take a bloody beautiful image. So it's a good thing, I think.
Yeah, look, I love it. And probably the biggest thing it does is it shows much better what's happening on the ocean. So everyone's seen some insane stuff on the water over the years, stuff that you just go, holy crap, I can't believe that just happened. Now you can film it. So we see a lot more of what happens in the ocean. I mean, you also get to see what idiots do out there too. So it goes both ways,
Yeah.
But and it's put a lot of fishermen on notice for poor behaviour and stuff, obviously. But what it does do is it shows the beauty that we see every day. So it's brought fishermen, I suppose, a bit more, dare say, into the public eye in a good way. So when we see, amazing things, people go, oh, wow, I can't believe you saw that. So for me, I think it's a good thing, because everyone can get that photo now that they, in the old days. I mean, when we started marlin fishing photography, in the world, I think there were 5 of us. There was me and Asho here, and Dean Butler did a bit in between his guiding and stuff, and there was literally no one else. Yep. And we were selling, like, to Marlin Mag, the market was massive in those days. Like, I could not shoot enough stuff.
Yep.
Like, it was ridiculous. And now everyone else has got photos that are better than mine, a marlin jumping out of the water now is easy. Like, it's not even hard to do anymore. So you shoot it with your bloody iPhone these days. So
I don't know about that. I was going through a few photos to put on a little slide reel while we were chatting away today, and I said to Joe, "Geez, he's got too many good ones. I can't choose any of them. It's insane the quality of some of them."
yeah, it's funny that my thing is everyone goes, "Oh, how do you get good pics?" I go, "Shoot shitloads. Just keep shooting and shooting and shooting and because it doesn't matter. It's all about and because always about half who's becoming a gun photographer stuff at the start was going, "Oh, I missed one of the shots." I went, "No, you'll miss bucket loads. All you do is keep shooting because you get that right shot." And that's the mentality we had in the old days from being a slide photography, is that you learnt it then that you just keep shooting. So when a marlin jumps, the old cameras used to be super far, like they had to have drivers on them to drive to get as many photos through. Now it's all digital. You can delete the ones. And we just go in the old days going, trying to get the shots. Now, mate, it's even quicker and faster, and the quality is absolutely out of this world.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, one of the things you were famous for in the early days was a series called Strike Zone, where you took the angler underwater. And I think my co-host over here, Joe, is pretty intrigued about how you went about that, aren't you, Joe?
Oh, I loved it. Absolutely loved your kingfish livey footage just with the tow cam. And that was just absolutely world class back then, Al.
Yeah, and you know what? So it was really interesting. So I was doing all the magazines, and then I said, rightio, and this was going back on the old man's advice. He said, right, build it up, always focus, and always remember your building blocks. So as you build up, for want of a better word, empire, it's not an empire or anything like that, but you build it up, start with your magazines, then I did books and did some bestsellers, all that sort of stuff, and then kept building. And ultimately I wanted to do TV, but I didn't want to do a fishing show infomercial. I never wanted that style where it was, it just because fishing is, I hate to say it, is boring for everyone to watch because they watch the back of your head while you're wanting to fish in.
Absolutely, yeah.
They don't see what's the one thing we all love in fishing? It's the bite.
Yep.
Like it's the key. And so I met up with an old mate, Ron Croft, who was the cameraman, and I said, I want to do a show that's different from everything else. And I said, and he goes, well, what's the big thing in fishing? The bite. He goes, we need to film the bite. And I said, how the hell are we going to film the bite? He goes, well, let's build a camera that we can film underwater with. So we ended up building the housing, putting a little screen on the front, and then running cables and getting it all wired together and then sending it up to used to be called a Sony clam.
Yep.
And we were saying in those days you weren't filming onto a hard drive or anything. It was you're filming straight onto tapes.
Yep.
So we'd run the tapes, then we'd delete it, rerun it, and the trial and error took us forever to get it right, but it was insane what we learned. Like we're sitting there watching Kings. It was classic, Kings I always thought came and grabbed a bait and swallowed it in a flash, and yet they follow it round, they sit there, they cruise up, and then they have to get round the head to get it head first. And it blew our minds what we ended up actually seeing. And the whole idea for us was to make the blue planet of fishing. So
Yep.
It's still a fishing, but we show people what everyone else sees on there, because a lot of them don't make any effort. They just film it. That's it. And ours always take a lot more. You never make any money if you do it my way. So all the people listening that want to make money out of fishing, don't follow in our footsteps, because you'll make a great product, but you won't make any money because everything you make, you put back into making it better. So it goes the wrong way at that end. But it is awesome what you learn as you go.
And you catch, just further to that point, you catch less fish when you're filming things properly, don't you? So we all would have caught 3 times as many fish as we have.
Oh, it's miles apart. So it goes from in the early days when I was just doing stills, we'd catch, you do a 10 fish tail marlin or something like that, big stripes or something. Oh, that's unreal. Once you start filming, you literally go from, 10 fish days down to 4 fish days. And everyone goes, oh, we caught more fish than you. Mate, we got to get shots from different angles, got to jump in with the fish, got to make sure it's safe, got to do all these things. And critically important to us is make sure every fish, if we keep it in the boat for a little bit longer, we've got to make sure every fish that's is all right when it swims off. Like there seems to be a bit of thing that I'll just let it go and throw it away and stuff. It's like no, we got to look after every fish because they're getting more and more precious every year as fishing pressure improves or gets more and more on these fish. So Yeah, so there's a responsibility there as well when you're filming, because you can put the fish through added stress at times too. So, you got to look after them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it is a bit of a trade off there. Like, yeah, like you're saying, the other guys can brag they caught a lot of fish, but they're all kind of backing down and I'm grabbing the trays, cracking them off. Whereas yourself, and I know we're a little bit the same, you've got to take that time, as you said, to get a close up of the fish, show the viewers those beautiful colors so they can appreciate something that they may not have had the chance to witness in person. Because we are very lucky to see the things we see at the ocean, and we should probably never forget that. And I think because of that, it's fantastic that you've
Yeah,
gone
well,
to that
it's
effort.
yeah, and I think it's a really important thing too, because I had some mates out from Yeti from England,
Yep.
and we just went and did a harbour run. Just cruised down the harbour. We caught flatties, we hooked a decent king, caught a whole bunch of, just little stuff. And for us, it was just, another day on the water, ho-hum. But for them, it was absolutely insane because they can't go fishing in London.
No.
There's no fishing. You can't do anything. And where it is, it's basically, fish farms and stuff.
Yep.
And the kid, Lee Tiernan and his son, Nelson, is obsessed with fishing, but he doesn't have it. And I think in Australia, there's a certain element there that just see it as a right. It is our privilege what we've got here because we're one of the lucky countries. And we're coming to a head with it at the moment because the UN, Australia's agreed to it, and this is the political side of it. In 2030, Australia will have every fishery in recovery or fully sustainable.
Yep.
And we're a long, long way from that now. Like a lot of our fisheries are dropping down because we've got a really interesting scenario because we're getting really good at fishing now. And it's quite interesting because our fisheries are based on catch rates, commercial and recreational. So no one complains if the catch rates are going up. No one cares.
Yep.
But the problem we've got now, as we were saying before, is the technology and all that are going through the roof, is that we're actually getting better at catching, in a lot of cases, less fish.
Right.
So a lot of fish that we've got, like kingies up here, we've got issues with them but a lot of people go, no, it's fine. I'm catching more kings than I ever have. But the actual numbers are dropping, but we're just getting a lot better at catching them. So our traditional fisheries management is now not working because you think of the technology that we've got. Like you think, or even just say a decade or so ago, what sounders you're running in your boat to what you run now. Like I ran, say, 15 years ago, I don't know, $1,000 Lowrance or something like that in there. Now I'm running $70,000 worth of radar just for finding birds. I'm running 4 transducers. I can sound in 500-600 fathoms. I've got side scans so I can pick the bait up where the high bits are, and we're getting a lot better at catching fish with that technology. So
I got to ask you, Al, so you're a big fan of the bird radar. Does it work? Does the bird radar work?
Oh, Joe.
Yeah, but it's the bird radar works, but the little dome ones are a struggle. You've got to get the big swinging bars.
The big helicopter rotors.
Yeah, so it looks like I'm about to take off on the top of it. It's an absolute monster of a thing, but we find birds with it. Now, there's a couple of tricks to it. And again, this comes back to understanding your technology. So you got to tune it to be able to do it so it's maximizing. And with my Ferrito one, like you have to fiddle with them. You can put it in auto and all that stuff. You won't find them.
Yep.
It's simple as that. And you've got to be watching it constantly, constantly monitoring it to see where they are. And it's not like it doesn't come up with big sign birds. It comes up with tiny little bit of, slight little bit of green that's just a little bit heavier than the rest. And it keeps coming up and it's moving. And we've had a number of times now that we've found birds on it. You got to have a few birds too. So you won't find it with 3 gannets up there.
Yeah.
But the guys say fishing down in Western Victoria where you've got big patches, big bird patches.
Yep.
It's a game changer for us, but it's a big investment. Like it's the guys using the sonars underwater. I mean, it changes everything once you put a sonar on. But sonar's probably $200,000, $300,000, and it can't fit in a trailer boat yet. So
Yeah, it's pretty insane. Just quietly, we are running that tech from 10 years ago still, so we're a bit behind in the ball game, but we like a challenge. But yeah, you touched briefly there on fish stocks, and kingfish is probably one of the best examples with a lot of tag recaptures pointing towards that their biomass is quite small. There's been a lot of work down here done with sat tagging of late. And we're yet to see the results from that. So that's really exciting. I know there's a bunch of fish over a meter swimming around with sat tags in them. Have you had any part in doing stuff like that up in Sydney to see what that stock's doing?
So we did it initially with acoustic tagging. They have had a project going, but it's been a bit of a, I don't know, it doesn't seem to have gone anywhere up here at the moment. I think it's too little too late.
Yeah.
So our big kings have really dropped down. So in recent years, hats off to Victoria for stepping up early, because we've got to see what's happening to them early in the piece. Now, when we did the acoustic tagging, and this is probably a decade ago now, it was really interesting. A heap of the fish swam up into Middle Harbour in the winter. Now, the fish are meant to go north. And I said to the Steph Brady, who was doing the research, said, "Oh, you probably keep that quiet. If those fish are going up into Middle Harbour in winter, you need to be wary about that, because that's calm water. They can flog them." And it took them a few years, but they found them. And in the space of a year, the fishery was gone.
Yeah.
And so there's two parts to it. The good thing is rec anglers as a whole genuinely want to do the right thing. Like we as a whole, you've got guys that still want to kill stuff and hang it up and throw it away at the end. You know, you're always going to have, but it is a minority in the scheme of things. And the majority want to do the right thing. We just need to understand what it is. And if you look back, say, for marlin fishing, when we started marlin fishing, we let them go, but we're using a 12-0 stainless J-hook.
Yeah.
We knew no better in those days. Now we run a 9-0 circle that we know we get, pretty much 100% out of them, survival. And if I thought a fish was going to die, I'd keep it. And we've done the sat tagging with kings it's something we really need to do, because kingfish are a relatively fast growing species, but they're subject to extreme pressure because we know every spot they go to because they're structure oriented. So we can flog the living daylights out of them really hard, but they're really good for catch and release because they're tough as nails if you look after them.
Yep. Absolutely.
So they're really, and yet our fishery here in New South Wales has just gone down the gurgler. Like it's just terrible. And yet you guys are seeing unbelievable numbers. Now, is this global warming? Because there's definitely changes in our current. Like it was interesting the other day, they've had 2 red emperor caught in New South Wales.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. So they were obviously up north, but these fish are definitely moving south. Like there's no question we're seeing, like even as just observations, we're seeing a shift in these fish as the EAC's pushing further south. So it's going to be interesting to see. So you might find in the future that Victoria's a better spot for it. So, because it's not just the kingfish, it's the bait species. I mean, we've been filming for the new series Fish Forever. We're filming kings up the Parramatta River where we've never seen them before, feeding on jelly prawns.
Yeah, amazing.
And jelly prawns are more a tropical species that have obviously their population's going up down here because the water temperature's going up. So it's fascinating to see the changes. And everyone goes on about, you got the lovers and haters for global warming a lot. At the end of the day, there's too many people on Earth, so we're changing it. There's no doubt about it. We just need to do everything we can to be doing the right thing. And the problem we've got, and it's really frustrating, is there's a serious lack of research. We have no idea about a lot of stuff still. Yep. And it's got to be sorted that we need to be investing more in research on the water so we understand that, our impact on black marlin up in Cairns when we're catching them during spawning season. You look at size limits for kings, every state is between 60 and 65 centimetres. And yet a female doesn't spawn till she's at least 75. It's just not logical. No. Surely you give them a chance to spawn, and at 75 to around 95, we understand. That's when they come into sexual maturity for a female. But we kill them all before they even get there, or we potentially can kill them all before they have a chance to spawn. It's just not logical.
No, I think you're right. A bit more thought, and I think a holistic approach where every state's probably working off the same principle is probably going to be a bit better rather than being everyone divided.
100%. And we've got massive issues ever since COVID. Every government seems to be self-imposed presidents of their states that no one talks to anyone else. And I even found we were sat tagging some swordfish in Victoria, and wreck fishers were complaining in New South Wales because they were New South Wales tags that we were tagging them south of the border. I'm like, I won't say the exact words I said because I'm renowned for probably blowing up a little bit, but it was along the lines of, you can't be serious, like these fish swim to New South Wales. They're the same fish. Doesn't matter where we tag them. We need to know what they're doing, and we need to see whether, because even that fishery, a couple of longline mates said, "Oh, you'll smash that real quick." I said, "No, we can't smash that fishery in that Bass Canyon because we can't fish it much." And he goes, "Well, we'll wait and see." And yet, even in the time I fished it, the average size has dropped.
Yeah,
we're only talking 5 years, 6 years, I think it is now.
Yeah, we're definitely seeing a lot more of those really small knives, as we like to call them, come through.
Yeah, we never caught them at the start. Yeah. And because this is the thing people don't understand is that those big fish are more dominant, so they're going to eat faster because they don't care at all. So, and we caught them, and it's interesting to see how many big ones, and then all of a sudden, and that's a characteristic that swordfish have. So we've seen it with the commercial fisheries when they hit them on seamounts and plays like that the fishery drops down very quickly and then sort of stabilizes, but the big fish are gone.
Yeah.
And if you think of it, there's only 2 places on earth you catch those big swords, and it's Australia and New Zealand.
Yep, absolutely.
So
swords,
you've got to look after it.
Swords are much like humans in that the ones with the biggest swords are dominant.
Yep, that's it. That's what I keep saying.
I've noticed, Al, you come back down our way over Christmas to target the true kings of the ocean, the King George whitings a little bit, stock up the freezer on those things. Do you enjoy a bit of that?
I love it.
Yeah, you love it?
Absolutely love it. So I grew up, snapper fishing Port Phillip Bay, and when we started in Port Phillip Bay, there were no snapper because they were still dredging in those days. And and whiting were, I don't know if the numbers were down or if we just didn't know. I suspect more likely we didn't know how to catch them. And now, I mean, there are people like Cole Tannehill and those blokes that used to be able to catch them, but a lot of us really struggled. And now, like my brother lives down at Port Wellspool there, and he's mad on it, absolutely loves it. We used to fish Western Port and Prove, but down there now, and the gummies, I still love catching gummy sharks. I mean, I love eating them, so there's not a lot of catch and release for those, but it's really interesting to see how those fisheries have changed. Like Stu's had some amazing whiting seasons, and yet this year the whiting have been a lot slower down there, but the gummies have been absolutely off tap, like the best season we've ever had in our history. So yeah, it's fascinating to see what the changes are with these fish. And I mean, you get obviously seasonal changes, but we need to monitor really well. And you guys are good in Victoria because you monitor your snapper by that measuring in the harbour, not the harbour, sorry, in the bay there to see what the spawn is, and the little tiny ones and all that sort of stuff, so you can get an idea going forward when you're going to have good seasons and all that. That's the sort of research we need a lot more of, and we need where fisheries, and I mean AFMA and the Commonwealth fisheries really need to pull their finger out, and state need to be working together, because we got in New South Wales we've got some really bizarre rules that state rules, and because remember it's only 3 miles and you're in Commonwealth waters, but your state runs it, and it's just stupidity. We need to have a community sort of approach to it where it's for the fishery. It's not for, so fishermen are happy and stuff like that. We need it because we all want lots of fish. It's pretty simple.
Yeah,
it's not that hard to and that's not just wrecks. It's commercials. It's greenies. It's the whole community. We want lots of fish, and yet we all seem to have all these fights between states and different stakeholders. And yeah, I find it incredibly frustrating at that end.
Yeah, I can understand that. I know you've had a fair bit to do with the political landscape, which is a pretty thankless task, but there's been stuff like the Stop the Lockouts, which was big up there in Sydney. We've had the Super Trawler, and amongst, green zones as well. How have you found delving into that world? And is that going to be future Al McGlashan, the politician?
No, definitely not for that end. Well, I did it because I wanted to put back, because for me, my whole life revolves around fishing, and it's been unreal to us. Like, don't get me wrong, I've had the best life on earth, and it's been amazing. And I worry that a lot of, I don't want to say celebrity stays, but there's a lot of take and not give, in my view. And I would go down to Canberra, so I went down, met with all the politicians, and did everything we could. And the super trawler was really interesting. And you're giving up your time, so I wouldn't ever accept any money. So I'd drive myself down to Canberra, go down and sit with them. And the super trawler was fascinating because you had a Dutch boat coming into Australian waters using Australian quota, and we sat down there. You got to remember, you're taking someone's job away. So this could be a bloke working at, this is his job, and you're saying you can't do it. So you got to be very understanding, because you had like people carry on about it. You go, yeah, but this is his job. And we sat down. I said, rightio, you can't fish in 80 fathoms, because we knew, because they obviously said, oh, we won't fish outside 1,000 fathoms. We knew where they wanted to fish, because all the bait's in 80 fathoms. That's where it is, where all the striped marlin are,
Yeah.
And then they're like, because we got super trawlers, and I think they're still working on the west coast of Tassie, the big trawlers there doing the what do you call them, the hokey and all that sort of stuff there. But because it's out of sight, it's out of mind. So we went in and sat down with these guys, and they were absolutely shocked. I remember one of them going, I can't believe you rallied all these troops against us, Al. He goes, people who trout fish don't like us. I went, okay, what we need to do is you can't be netting the bait where we're fishing. It's simple as that. And the beauty was, I said, he goes, oh, well, we'll fish south of Eden. And I went, no, Malakuta's got a boat route. And he goes, we'll do it 10 miles from every boat route. How's that? So I said, 40 miles. And when we came out of the meeting, like, it was really good. We had them on the run, and we were going to get it. And came out of the meeting. I remember James Finlay was the CEO of AFMA in those days, Australian Fisheries Manager. He rang me up and goes, have you seen Facebook? And it was still a bit earlier for Facebook in those days. I went, nah. He goes, you're getting smashed. I went, what, the commercial blokes? And he goes, no, the wrecks. So a bunch of Tasmanians decided that whatever it was, that they couldn't do it, the Tasmanian Fishing Party or something, I think they called themselves.
Oh,
We're
yes.
going off. So we gone in and done this meeting and got these guys across the I've just had the evil stare from Oz, because she looks at me going, don't you start on that stuff. But what is interesting is that their attacks stuffed it, because we had them on the run because of unity, and because these self-interested, self-appointed idiots, and I'm putting it out there, had decided that they're attacking. So instead of attacking the enemy, they were fighting with their own, going, I can't believe you're there. You don't represent us. No, I don't represent anyone. I'm just doing it for myself, what I think is best for the fishery. And they turned the boat around. So the boat was moving further away and wasn't going to fish at that stage. And they turned around and started fishing. And that's when they started fishing right up in front of everyone, like driving, the boat, because they had the right of way, under maritime law and all that. And then it went next level with, I couldn't believe the attacks. Like there's the Environment Tasmania or something, which were working for marine parks, got all the wreck fishers down there to support, going, oh, McGlashan's kids are on drugs and all. Like, it was insanity. God. It got to next level that and it was all Tasmania. I've never in my life worked out what it was, because there's some awesome people down there and great fishers, but it was only a small group. And it ended up being that I went to AFTA to fish to Cole Tannehill, because a couple of them were supposedly sponsored by Shimano, and said, mate, I'm not doing this. I've had enough. I don't care what people say about me. I don't really care. But I said, you put my kids on there, it's game on.
Yeah, fair enough too.
Yeah, and I said, it's not appropriate. And then everyone started turning and stuff. And the problem was, they started putting up crap on social media, like, oh, they've netted a whale shark on the boat and all this. And it's like, that's fine. Show me the evidence. I need the evidence before I can go back to. And what it did was, because they carried on like children, all these people, and it became everyone became sheep and just following it. And it's like, guys, we can't act like this. We have to be professional. And when we go in, you say, this is what happened. Here's the evidence for it. You can't just say, oh, someone's netted 3 sheep off you know, Eden, and we're not happy. And it just got hysterical. And it put us back, unfortunately, 10 years with the government, because the government said, oh, we're not dealing with these idiots anymore. And so fishing really has, and you can see it now, it's still affecting us. We've got bans in Queensland, we've got bans in South Australia, the snapper ban that's still going. We've got, even Tasmania now, they've just started, I see that they're just starting on Flathead down there. And it's a real worry going forward, what's going to happen. So
certainly interesting times ahead. And we say thank you for all your efforts in that political landscape, because it's pretty sad that even when you're trying to help out the greater majority of fishermen, that there's a few guys that feel the need to attack and divide, which is exactly what we don't need to be doing, I suppose.
Yeah, and you get it in everything. I mean, when we had Stop the Lockout here, it was a brilliant concept, because what happened was, I was, would you believe, going to sea on a longliner was filming on a longliner at the time.
Yep.
And I got a call from the minister at the time, Noel Blair, and he rang two people to warn of what was happening, me and Cole Tannehill, ironically, two Victorians. So kind of a classic, and said, we're about to announce that we've got we're doing a whole, Sydney Greater Marine Park area. And I'm like, what are you talking about? You told me the other day you weren't doing it. And because he's a national, not a lib, the libs had stitched up their own people. And he was good, because he tried to warn and say, get on the bandwagon now. And so and the same mentality happened. All these people are attacking this poor bloke. I'm going, mate, you use them as your ally, not your enemy. You need to get these people on side. If you go in there and say politicians are all crap, they're not going to help you.
No.
You need, it's all about publicity and about being the public. And the great thing we've got is, up here in Sydney, we've got my column in the Telegraph. So I get, I don't know, about 700,000 readers on a Friday, and all the politicians read it.
Yeah.
So it's a key. Social media is good, but they take it all with a bar of soap, because they're all old school. That's the sort of stuff that's critical. And we used it initially. It was great we started doing rallies, got everyone fired up, and then minor political groups started jumping in, and people carrying on that were sort of in charge. And I go, guys, don't attack the minister you're going to go and see. Well, we're demanding a meeting with him now. So it's still a human being. You still got to be polite and say, we want to sit down with you and work out the best way forward. So instead, they just abused them and attacked them and carried on. And, the minor political elements jump on the bandwagon and go, yeah, we're going to do this, and fire them up. So it ends up, it doesn't help at all in the long run. We need to go in with them and say, you want everyone on your side. You want the public to agree with what you're doing. And I mean, we're lucky we got it through just by pure numbers. And then it just it should have been a momentum that we kept going, because it's going to be trouble in the future. I mean, I'm paranoid about, now that you've seen already, West Australia, the least populated per capita state in the country, has put demersal bans in for 9 months of the year.
Yep.
It's got the smallest fishing population for the size of it. What the hell have they done wrong that it's that bad?
Yeah.
Like it's people, and when they react, everyone reacts too late. They don't give us a chance to fix it. They just go, we're banning you guys. And wreck fishers are always the easiest target, which is a massive problem we've got to deal with. So if we don't get the public on side, we can't win.
Yeah, and I think we need to show that financial, like the amount of money that the wreck fishing sector spends in the economy is absolutely huge, and you'd think that would get the attention of a lot of politicians. But as you say, we do seem to be quite easily targeted. But hopefully, moving forward, we can all unite and look after our sport, and because it's bloody fantastic, and it's allowed yourself and us to see some amazing things at sea. I was going to ask you, Al, what are the most amazing things you've seen out on the water in your fishing career? I've got a few of them listed here, but maybe you want to take us through a few of them.
Well, probably, obviously, the most famous is the Mako one that, was next level, and, took us all by surprise. And it was one of those things that, and he was never going to eat us. At no time was that fish going to eat us. He was only interested in the marlin. And it was something that, I don't think it's ever been replicated anywhere. And the funny thing is, it's the only time I've ever had a marlin eaten in New South Wales waters by some big, denizen of the deep. And I was in the water and I had all my cameras working at the time because they always fail and, you always miss shots and all that. So, yeah, it was one of those insane moments that just you live with forever. And all the photos I might have were actually in focus, which is a nice change. So, yeah, that one. Then I've got, we saw killer whales take eat a sperm whale calf. That was full on, and it's not like National Geographic say that it goes on for hours and hours. These things came in because I've got a permit to film whales, so I've got like a special permit. I can jump in with them and all that sort of stuff. And we were getting ready to jump in. I said, right, and you've got all these. I got to follow all these regulations. I can't be if there's a calf there and all these things. You can't. I have to swim to them. We can't put the boat. Boat has to be further away and all that sort of stuff. And anyway, I'm getting ready to get in. We're trying to work out which way they're going. So I drop in front of them. And Coops is there. He goes, what are those ones coming in over there? Turned around. Here's these bloody great dorsals. I went, they're killer whales. Oh, my God, this is going to happen. And they came in. And initially they buzzed them and then disappeared. And we're sitting there thinking, oh, nothing's going to happen anymore. Oh, we'll go back to trolling. So go back trolling. And we drive like 300 metres up. And I went, Keeps goes, check out this female with her calf in front of us. Imagine if the killers found that. And we turn around and they're behind the boat, like literally right there. And the whole thing, they came in and absolutely flogged this thing in under 5 minutes. And we're right next to it. So it all came towards us because you can't approach it, obviously. So we're sitting there going, oh, this is insane, trying to stay off. The calf, the mother tries to get over towards us with the calf. They're jumping on this calf, like just flogging it. And it's all gone. It was all done in 5 minutes. There's blood everywhere. And then the female comes up and starts literally wailing next to us. Like, it's just sad. Like, it was horrible to see. But the worst thing is all the bulls from the pod come in charging and we're stuck in the middle and they're all around the boat. Like, and they're just absolutely, and they're all, you can hear them all hooting and hollering and carrying on to each other. And it was just bizarre. And the killer whale's gone, completely vanished in minutes. Like, and you sit there going, did this just happen? Like, absolutely, yeah. Insane to watch, like an amazing moment of nature, but still pretty harsh to watch,
Yeah, I know. And yeah, you have to stand aside and let nature happen, I suppose. Now, we just had a bit of your Mako shark encounter footage rolling while you were speaking then. And yeah, it's quite funny that your mates are like yelling at you to get on the boat and you're still trying to get the right angle with your camera. It's cool.
Yeah, and the other thing that's funny is that there's a friggin' 300 kilo Mako between me and the boat. I'm not going to go and go, excuse me, move over. I'm going to say, right. I'm trying my best to hide behind the camera. Like I'll just make myself really small. But when it first happened, you can see when I'm filming it and I'm looking at them going, why is no one reacting? There's a massive shark because he went past me. So as he came in, he deliberately buzzed me and I felt it and went, what the hell's that? And then looked in front of me, a metre and a half in front of me. And here's this massive shark attached to the marlin. And they're still holding the marlin and no one's reacting in the boat. So for a minute, I'm sitting there thinking, did I drink too many red wines last night? Like, there's a shark there. And you can see me duck down, go, there's a friggin' huge shark on there. And then look up and go, I don't understand what's happening. And you can see the shark actually mouths down. But once he hits the tail and snaps it off, then all of a sudden, the poor old marlin kicks up a storm. And that's when they realised that something was going on. So I was in that sort of, mode going, there is a massive shark. Why is no one reacting? Or am I just seeing things? And then, of course, it's fascinating to watch how they do it. So he's bitten it, mouth down to the tail, because he's got his eyes closed through this whole encounter, which is why he buzzed me to make sure that he stated that he was bigger than me and that, he wasn't going to share this marlin. And when he bit the tail off, he turned around and swam off.
Yep.
And you get, people that go, oh, they're just killing it for the sake of it. It's like, no, what he does is he snaps the tail off. It's got no propeller, bleeds out, and then he can feed on it without any threat, because for him, his eyes and his vital points are all up around that nose. And it's essential that he protects them during the fight. So it's an amazing thing to be a part of, and something that, we don't see many Makos now. They're really disappeared up here in numbers. Like they used to be those little rats you'd see around, little 30-kilo ones. They used to be everywhere inshore, and you just don't see them at all now. So, it's to be able to see something as amazing as that is just, next level awesome.
Yeah, and to film it was absolutely amazing. Now, a few guys have sent in a few questions for you, Al. You've been real generous with your time, but do you mind maybe answering a couple of those ones?
Yeah, I thought shutting me up was the problem.
No, we're happy to sit here and listen to you all night if you like. So, or Birdie 84 has said bent butt rods in. Oh, this is quite a general tackle question. He wants to know if you can use bent butt rods in Black Magic harness without the bent butt adapter twin pin model.
I do, and I found it not a massive issue, to be honest with you. But you just have to monitor or change your style of fishing to match the harness.
Yep.
So I used them for years without even the insert, because remember originally I had an insert and it was still fine, but you modify, you can't obviously lift it up as fast, so you do shorter strokes with it, which actually suit me better, to be honest with you. So, and I remember, Black Magic sent me one of the new harnesses because they kept saying you need to use it with the twin one. And I took some great photos of Cooper fighting, I think it was 130-kilo bluefin tuna. And they sent back, that's awesome, but he's got the rod in the wrong pin. I'm like, oh, right. Oh, that was a great success, wasn't it?
Yeah,
So,
we found the same thing. We had the non-adapted one and used bent butts in it forever, and it was no worries at all.
Yeah, I found it still works really well. I mean, the big thing for me is the rod. So it's really interesting. So the blue marlin we caught the other day, Ord's caught it. Now, she's only a light thing. And the problem is that I've got those Shimano, I don't know, whatever they bent butt 80s, they're heavy one.
Yep.
And I love them because they're stiff as, and I can really load up on the fish.
Yep.
And it can really give them a hard time. She hates it because it lifts her off the water all the time. Like she literally gets lifted out and goes, I can't, lift it off the deck all the time. So the rod to me is more important than the harness to make it match and to make sure you're comfortable with it. So with the Black Magics, the back strap on it, on the lower part, should be stitched in because it's loose. And if you haven't got it set up straight, the strap will actually come off the padding. And people, you can see them fighting the fish going, mate, that's not, if you're not comfortable, let's fix it and make sure it works for you, So the biggest thing is always put the harness on, try it. And before you're even fishing, even in your garden or whatever, it doesn't matter where you are or if you're on the water just starting, and get it comfortable. Because if you have, like in the old days when we used to fight fish for several hours and stuff, thank God we don't have to do that anymore. It's you want it comfortable because otherwise you start feeling it more and more the longer it goes on, believe me.
We've got an actual Black Magic Pro Anglers just come on the live feed, Jonah Yick from Tasmania, and he's telling us that the company protocol is they like people to use the twin pin pro or adapter with the bent butt. So we got to toe the company line, I think.
Yeah, I know. The guys in New Zealand love it. They go, for God's sake, Al, just do it properly. I'm like, oh, yeah, I didn't think of that at the time. But it is, I'll give it to it. It's the best harness I've used, bar none. It's simple, 2 clips straight on, and it's just because it's so easy to use. So for me, I love it because I've used some of the others and there's 55 straps here, there, and everywhere, and I can't bloody change them. And the beauty with that is it's really easy. So if I'm fighting a fish, then you jump on and you're fighting, it's really quick and easy to adjust. And all the big fish I've caught, those early days of catching that 155-kilo bluefin back in the early days was on a Black Magic. And it's just, simple and easy to use and best there is. So, never any issue with that.
Hey, Al, thanks for joining us, by the way. I've got a question from Sean Hildyard for you. He asks that about a fluorocarbon leader. You do a lot of underwater filming. Does fluorocarbon actually disappear in the water like they say or not? I'm not convinced by the whole fluorocarbon leader being so superior when it comes to more bites. What do you think about seeing fluorocarbon leader in the water?
Ooh, good one.
So what it does do, so fluoro doesn't, hang on, I've got to get it the right way. It doesn't reflect the light, absorbs the light. But, and my underwater filming, you still see it. But you've got to remember, our eyes are different to the fish. So I think, and to make it more complicated, there's proper fluorocarbon and there's the sort of half fluorocarbon, I think it is, the non-technical term that is for it. So there's genuine fluorocarbon that's really good. We definitely get more bites on fluoro, but it's exceedingly expensive, and I would use it, so for tuna fishing, I use fluorocarbon, and different fluoros work in different ways. Some of them I reckon are rubbish, to be straight honest with you, and others are really good. On the same note is that on other fish, like say with tuna, the guys using it, I think it definitely plays a massive role, but it also doesn't abrade super well. So if tuna starts chewing on it and chafing it, it breaks real quick. So there's a lot more, there's a lot of elements to it. But on my underwater, you can see it. If you look on my Instagram and stuff, you'll see photos, and quite often with the fluoro, it shows up big time.
Okay, great question. And Sean also wants to know about your Haines. What sea does it like best? Being such a deep V, how does it cope with different conditions? How does it go on with a side-on sea?
It's not a Haynes, Joe.
Yeah, with the North,
Sorry.
with the North Bank, or the North
Yeah,
Bank.
The North Bank.
I think he
Pardon
means
me.
the North Bank.
No, that's the
Sean's being greedy too, getting 2 questions, by the way. But
Yeah.
we'll ask about the North Bank.
Yeah. So it's interesting because we used Evolution in the early days, which is a really good fishing platform, but no boat. And this is the problem you get. Everyone you hear goes, "Oh, my boat's perfect." There's no such thing unless it's 100-foot long, a perfect boat. It's just not possible. So we used to fish a lot closer to shore, and the Evolutions were great because they're really good, stable platform. But if it's a stable platform, you're going to get issues with running to sea because obviously, you're going to bang more. So there's things like that. So when I went across to North Bank, it's a really well Australian built boat, which is something I absolutely love. And it's heavy. So it's a heavy boat for its size. It runs like a treat because we're doing longer runs now. So the big thing for me also is fully enclosed.
Yes,
and
that's a
because we can run
godsend.
through, because they can get wet at times, and just charge straight through it. Don't even think twice about it. Just go straight through. And if you're down out of lakes or Cooter, or you're doing bluefin on the east coast where it's a 40-mile run, and quite often a shit run, to put it bluntly, it's an awesome way to just put the autopilot on, which is the best thing ever invented, and just truck away through it. So they ride really well into the sea. They'll rock and roll a little bit side on, like any of those those and Haynes and all those sort of. But you gain one thing and you lose another. So you're going to lose if you want a stable platform, you're not going to get as a good a ride in most cases. They're always going to rock and roll a bit. But yeah, I absolutely love it. It's the best boat I've had. It's been unreal for, we've caught some unreal saws and some huge tuna out of it. And I think it's just on, it might be 2 years old now, and we've done 1,400 hours on it, considering COVID, which is pretty good because we should be up over 2,000. And I think we worked out the other day, it's done 15,000 miles or something stupid on the water, and it's holding up really, really well. So yeah, been super impressed with it.
Is that your first motor for the boat on there, or have you churned through a couple already?
No, that's the first one on this one. So we're meant to have changed it over, but because of COVID, we can't get them at the moment. So it's tricky. I was meant to change over back in December, and so we haven't got. I think it's coming. I still haven't heard. I better chase it up and find out. So it's just ticking away, and which is good because we can put some better hours on it now and show what they're doing. So I think it's 1,300 or 1,400 I've got on there at the moment. So and the big thing is the economy. Like for us, obviously now with fuels just going through the bloody roof again. Like our big days are expensive. We're fishing off Sydney, and if you use 200 litres, because we run down the river from my place, they've got 15 miles or 16 miles just down the river to the heads.
Yep.
And then you're fishing another 25, 30 miles out. So you got a 45-mile run just to start and finish fishing. So when you do that, and we're using, we're still unreal on fuel. But we're using, we might knock over 200 litres on fuel if the current's running a bit, which it is at the moment. It's doing 2.5 knots to the south.
Yep.
And bloody hell, you start putting fuel in the thing, it's $450 days every day. Like it's expensive. So all these things start coming into, we run to see a little bit slow. We used to go a bit gun ho. Now we're looking at because we've got the smart gauge, so you can see exactly what you're chewing. Like, oh, we could pull off a couple of knots on that.
Yeah, we've got the 250 Pro XS on our boat, and it's very much the same to get out of Western Port, where we're doing a lot of trips of late chasing the big tuna and that. It's it's a fair run just to get to the entrance. And you're right, you really you work out after a while where your boat is at optimum fuel efficiency level, and you stop caring about looking cool going really fast.
Yeah, no, you don't worry about that. You leave that to the Spiros and stuff, and plus all the stuff falls off. And it's funny because I suppose for you guys too, if you're running all the way down Western Port, you got to run in tide. Your fuel's going to go up heaps because you got a whole way down there to get out. And and that's the thing. And we look at it now. Fuel's a massive part of what we do. And the ironic thing is, you go that way, you catch a fish, and then you let it go half the time.
Yeah,
like I worked out when we were filming for the series, we went and satellite tagged some swords. So we end up spending something like $4,000 in 4 days in fuel. So including driving down and driving back and fishing every day, it's sort of $600 a day because it was a $2.30 a litre or something astronomical. And all you do is drive to the ground, stop, and drive them back at the end of the day. And all in that you're doing for citizen science to satellite tag a fish, all in the name of helping the fish. You sit there going, what the hell are we doing? Like this, I'm gonna take a fish home. Like it's expensive these days. So yeah, and I think fishermen don't get enough credit for all the stuff we do and everything we try and do to help the fishery. The governments really need to step up to the plate and start working with us on the citizen science. Like it is insane what we do for all from the goodness of our heart for caring for the fishery.
Yeah, absolutely. Another question here from Steak Sauce Yoda. Trolling using spinning gear. Do you do it? And what type of setup? And what's the lightest you would go if you were to do so?
Well, for me, definitely do it a little bit. Now, because we're mainly chasing bigger tuna and things like that as a general rule, like up north, mackerel and all that, I love using spin gear. Down here, we will do it a bit, but I hate fighting big fish on spin gear. It hurts like hell, and I'm not going to be a he-man and do it. Like it's just, I'll go back to the Black Magic harness and put my, Shimano Tigra 80, and we fish 80 exclusively because my theory is that I want that shot at that big fish, that once in a lifetime fish, and I don't want to fish light gear and I've had them over the years, fish that have absolutely towed us up. We've had no chance of fighting it. I'd prefer to catch more fish quicker and get that one shot at that ultimate fish that's the biggest. So we went from 24, and probably for the last 5 or 6 years we only fish 80 pound. So only because of that.
Yeah.
So
I subscribe to that as well.
I don't want to catch a massive one, and I don't want to catch a massive tuna on spin gear anymore. That's just downright painful.
Yeah, no, it's a bit of a fad down here with guys pitching baits into bait balls, and some guys are unnecessarily using spin gear, and you just watch them and you think, geez, that's actually, I did do it once and I'll probably never do it again. It just looks like a lot of pain, to be honest.
Yeah, and look, for that style, when you're dropping in a bait ball, it can be better if you need to get in quick because game gear can be cumbersome, and we definitely get more bites on braid and mono as opposed to, you've got a wind on leader, you've got a big snap, all that sort of stuff. You can do better, but as soon as you hook up, hand it over to someone else to wind up. That's the way for me.
Yeah, the old the skipper just stays on the wheel, and the other guy, the
leaving.
poor sucker, winds the line in.
Yeah, someone else go, hey, this one, there might be something on this. Can you check it for me? Yeah, it's all yours, mate. Thanks.
That's right. I think that one got a nibble. Do you want to wind it in? Yeah. Yeah, awesome, Al. Thanks so much for answering a few of those questions. You don't have any more there, do you, Joey?
No, hey, Al, what is your go-to Macca's order?
Oh, my go-to. I drink their coffee because it's consistently okay. I don't know, probably a quarter pounder or something. It's a bit, you eat it, then you're just like, oh, this is harsh. I've just had fresh tuna for dinner and was it Korean pork for dinner last night from what we got ourselves. So, and then you go to eat Macca's. It's kind of a letdown, at the end.
Yeah, we unfortunately, when we're doing these long road trips, sometimes you're forced into eating that sort of fast food, and you just always filled with regret afterwards, aren't you, Joe?
No,
It is.
absolutely. We eat better when we're podcasting than going on the road fishing.
That's right. All right. Thanks so much for coming on, Al. If you ever want to come down and chase some of these big bluefin tuna that we're going to have in plague proportions very soon, you're more than welcome. And we hope we get to see you shortly.
I will, and I'll come down. I don't want to catch them. I just want to get in and film those bait balls with them on there. That's what I reckon. I'm keen as. I want to do it when there's not too many boats around because I'm more scared of boats than sharks these days.
Well, we don't really want to wind them in either, so that's going to leave us with a bit of an issue.
Well,
I don't take heaps of bait and feed them like we do up here. We just feed them. We don't want to wind them up.
Yeah,
I don't really want to get in the 13-degree water. So Al, you're more than welcome to come and jump in with your thick wetsuit and film them for us.
I look like the Michelin Man.
Sounds good. All right. Thanks a lot, Al. And we really do appreciate you spending some time with us tonight. And we'll catch you soon.
Anytime, boys.
Thanks, mate. Good on you. Oh, Joey.
How good was that?
Mate, I'm going to have to rewatch that back to get some of the pearls of wisdom that were thrown in there. It was quite an excellent interview, I thought.
Yeah, he's been around for a long time, Al. Yeah, absolute heavyweight of the fishing industry.
That's right, Joe. Now we are gonna quickly, because she's been a pretty long one, but we can't miss out on the hookup, can we?
Oh no, absolutely not. Let's go straight into it.
Hey!
Welcome to the hookup, where we go around Australia and indeed the world for the freshest fishing reports.
Dave,
absolutely beautiful.
The hookup this week is brought to you by Dave and Joey from Wind Against Tide.
That's right. You didn't read my ad, Joe. I wrote you a full ad that you were supposed to recite for me.
That we did. No, it's brought to you by Wind Against Tide tonight. King Kong, Donkey Kong shirts and hoodies are available for pre-order. They're available in black, grey, burgundy, and army green in a huge range of sizes. These babies will quickly become your lucky fishing hoodie, and they'll turn heads when you're out on the town. So the pre-orders are open for King Kong, Donkey Kong hoodies and shirts. You can send us a message on Instagram, Facebook. We're making a list and hoping to get them at the end of May, I believe, Dave.
The 7th of this month, we're closing pre-orders, Joey, strictly closing so that we can get them ordered for people to be wearing into winter.
Yeah.
Now, aren't you glad you read that beautiful ad I wrote?
I am glad I read it because I do not have a King Kong, Donkey Kong hoodie, and I reckon it's an absolute brilliant spin of fun on fishing. I can't wait to be nice and warm and smumpy with the split system up to 25 degrees.
No, and as we know, you did sell my King Kong Donkey Kong hoodie that I had been wearing at the boat show to someone. So
I think it had a sausage in bread sauce stain on it as well.
I'd been wearing it for 3 days of the boat show. So yeah, I'm looking forward to getting another one too. Thanks, Joe.
Awesome.
Now, we're back with a Gippy report from Simon Webster. We all bloody love him. He puts his heart and soul into them. So bear with me here. I'm going to run through it and prepare to be excited. Lakes has seen a number of swordfish from Bass Canyon presented at the new gantry, which is now broken, by the way. Largest I've seen so far, 150 kilo approximately. Toadfish still destroying outfits out deep, chewing through braid. Snapper anglers offshore are migrating to the 6 Mile Reef, targeting pinkies between 35 to 40 centimeters. They're fishing 35 to 40 meters, with the bigger fish thinning out. An odd fish being caught still up to the mid-60s. Some small makos also taken at the pipeline recently. The Pines and Grange areas are producing many table-sized gummies in the last couple of weeks as well. Bem entrance recently opened and is huge currently. Tyres prawns as big as small platypus currently. Yummo and cheers. Thanks, Simon. Beautiful report from yourself.
On your Webby.
Now, Tasmanian correspondent Jonah Yick was supposed to take us fishing last weekend, but he discouraged us from coming down, Joe, and then went out on his own. Is that how it went down?
Yeah, he did. Well, he went on a day that we couldn't make anyways, but the fishing was unbelievable this weekend. Also, Tasmania also had some calm weather, which allowed a few of the boats to head out offshore and chase all the big stuff.
Yeah, well, they had the bluefin champs, which I think were a little bit slow this year. Some good fish caught on light line, a couple of bigger fish, but Jonah definitely had the day of days. I think he won the Tasmanian fishing competition, not actually a competition, but he caught some of the best fish for the weekend in Tassie. He got another beautiful sword. He dropped a beautiful sword, and his friend that was out with him lost one as well. So they were on a hot patch, Joe. But it wasn't without some damage. If you throw to my computer here, he actually had a swordfish come up and rip part of his gunnel rubber off his boat. This is the angry one that they caught.
Oh wow!
Look at it. It's just slight gunnel rubber off.
What?
He's even slow-mode it for us. But yeah, that's an absolutely chunky fish, Joey. And Jonah actually released that one, estimated it around 150 to 160 kilos. So the boy is on fire, Joe.
Yeah, and that vision there is you've got jet ski fishing Tasmania. Jonah's friend who films them while he's on the jet ski. He's filming back to Jonah's boat there, and with that huge fish by the side there. So there we go.
Yeah, pretty nice having a photographer out on the water with you, isn't it, Joe? Getting some different perspectives. We have to get ourselves one of those. But very interesting fact about Wes on the jet ski there, Joe. He told us yesterday. What do you think he does when he's sitting out there on his lonesome, dropping off his jet ski?
I don't know, swiping a match on Tinder. No, I don't know.
I was concerned where you were going with that. He listens to Wind Against Tide, Joey.
Oh, that's brilliant. Oh, that makes me happy.
He sent us a video of him hooking up on a swordfish that he unfortunately lost, and he's got us rambling away in the background. So if that's not using Wind Against Tide to its full potential to fill your day, and I don't know what is. As Simon said, also a nice sword, couple of swords came in at Lake's entrance amongst the GTs, giant toads. Joey?
Yeah, that really, it's a thing. It's happening. GT, giant toads.
Not as nice as the other version of the GT, though, I'm afraid, Joey.
Yeah, well.
Tuna front, their big barrels have shifted slightly, Joe. They've shifted from Portland down there to Port Macdonald. They've entered South Australian waters. I'm sure there's still plenty in our waters as well, but she went off at the end of last weekend into the weekend, didn't it, Joey?
Yeah, I think we were talking. You said 17 barrels.
Yes, I think even more were landed on the 17.
Saturday,
yes,
sorry, Saturday. I think it was
that Friday. Yeah, I think you're saying one boat got 17.
Yes, absolutely.
Aaron Habgood, and then plenty more caught by other boats, obviously. So pretty crazy fishing, Joey. It's the season that'll keep on keeping on, I think.
But then for a bit of contrast there, Port Macdonald hot to trot. A little bit out of Portland, but had our mate Sean Hildyard camping down at Port Fairy, and he said was absolutely dead. He camped there for the weekend. Port Fairy dead. Never seen it so dead, and he loves that little town.
Oh, well, we know where not to go then. Thank you very much. Kingfish, Joe. You thought they were over. They're not over. There's been some lovely kingfish caught down at Port Welshpool out at the islands around there. Some larger fish as well. Our good mate Jace Taylor got one that I believe was 1.13 meters and stuck a tag in it and released it. There's been plenty of smaller models taken on jigs and stuff around the island. I believe the water's just started to go a bit more of a tinge of green, and we might see a drop in the temp very soon. But if you want to get amongst the kingfish, as of a few days ago, they were still around. Few rumours coming out of Western Port as well, Joey. Apparently, they were sighted from San Remo Jetty.
Wow, but Jace's kingfish, the fish you were just talking about, very fat. The sheer girth on it was just absolutely. It was a fatty.
Yeah, it had been in a good paddock, that one.
Yeah. Paddock of what? Yakkers, mackerel, squid?
Yeah, well, probably. I was out offshore the other day, Joey, collecting some sword bait, and there was heaps of yakkers and slimy mackerel.
We were in a good paddock of hamburgers before. There was like some kind of hamburger eddy.
Yes, we are quite rotund now, much like that kingfish. Throwing back over to Western Port, the whiting have been pretty good. Brother Tom went out on Tuesday. He got some lovely whiting.
Oh, so he got sick of the tuna, so he decided to take a hand at the whiting.
That's it, Joey. He got some real big ones, around 45 centimetres. He reckons off Summers region, some pinkies and a nice gummy. There's been some real big bags of whiting further up the port as well, and of course the squid have still been pretty good. You can bean trout run in full force as well, Joey.
What a beautiful part of the world Yukonbean. It's just, yeah, it was, they've been spinning up a storm down at Yukonbean, I see.
That's right. There's been plenty of brilliant sized brown and rainbow trout caught up there, Joe. And as we spoke to Al McGlashan before, yellowfin and marlin still going pretty good up the coast.
Oh, yeah, and just came out for half a day fishing and caught 180 kilo blue marlin. That's not too bad fishing in anyone's book.
Very casual. Now, I said, Joe, who's got the King Kong Donkey Kong catch of the week this week? And you said, Dave, leave it with me. So what have you got for me?
So here we go. This week's King Kong Donkey Kong catch of the week.
King Kong Donkey Kong match. Look.
What have you got?
It's Benny Wood, was on holidays last week on the Noosa River and has caught the world's smallest whiting.
Whiting? Right.
The world's smallest whiting. Like, I don't even know where you can actually buy a hook small enough to catch a fish that size. So that's the Wood family, Ben and Sky and Caden and the family. They're holidaying on the Noosa River, and that is the world's smallest King George whiting. So, Benny Wood, you got catch of the week this week, brother.
So, catch of the week for the reason that it was the smallest fish of all time.
Yes.
That's different, Joe.
It is. You really have to try hard to get a hook small enough to catch a fish that small.
All right, deserving winner. Well, Joey, I think it's come to that time of the night again. Al was a bloody awesome guest. Thank you, Al McGlashan, for coming on the show. We really enjoyed it. Thanks all the guys that jumped on when watching the live feed. You're all awesome, and we do appreciate you. If you're watching this back at a later date, don't forget to like and subscribe to the podcast. It's going places, isn't it, Joe?
Absolutely. And yeah, thanks again for all your support. The guys jumping on the live feed and also super chatting and donating to us. It really goes a long way. We do this out of love to share with you all the fishing chat and all of our fishing media. We love doing it, and just thanks for supporting us so we can keep bringing to you, sharing with you what we love the most. So yeah, appreciate all of you guys.
Awesome, Joey. Oh. Who do you think you are not reading my ad, Joseph?
Wow.
You're fired. Good night, everyone.
Good night.